So that's kind of and so what they've done is they have built what they call spaces. So you can see if you look at on the left-hand side of my screen as I changed, I've gone to a different space. So what you see up here is they give you a space for favorites that you can pin that, you might use often and go to. The one thing that's weird is they don't use bookmarks in the traditional sense like those browsers. So I thought, well, how do I get to my bookmarks? Because they only allow up to 12 favorites. So what I did was the first thing you do when you use it is it'll allow you to import all of your settings and browsers or bookmarks and passwords. I did that. I brought that stuff in from Safari, but there's not a place like for bookmarks. So I simply took all my bookmarks. You can see the list here of all my different folders of bookmarks, and I pin them. If you go above this, there's a little line here. I don't know if you all can see that there. Right under where it says Arc Browser, and you can pin stuff. So I literally called this bookmark space, and that was how I could get all my bookmarks in here, and if I kind of hover over stuff, well, it's not doing it right now. I don't know why. I can open these folders and I can find my bookmarks there. Yeah, you can see if I, hover over stuff, I can see stuff that's in there. So they also have a lot of interesting little tools. Like I was starting to make a little presentation for you guys. Well, they have something called easels and notes. So I just clicked on this. I started to make a presentation for you guys that I just didn't have time because I was finishing up my goodies that I'll share later. But this got this note, you can bring in pictures and stuff. So that's kind of an interesting thing. You notice the coloration of my browser. It's this green color. Well, when you first start, it gives you the choice of whatever colors you want. And I thought, well, that's kind of fun. And then if you go to this thing called boosts, I don't have any boosts yet that I'm kind of playing with this. I didn't mean to do that. Hold on. Let's just go here. Let's say I like to go to the Athletic and use the Athletic quite a bit. Well, let's say I want to change the look of it. I can go down here and I can do new boost. And I got to move you guys. Hold on a second. So you can see here, I can change some colors. Let's say, I don't know, I want to make this blue. And let's say I want to change the font. So can you guys see how that changed?
Yes.
Now, whenever I go back to the website, The Athletic, it will have my changes. That's what it's going to look like in this browser. Maybe I want to make the font bigger. I want to change the style, whatever it may be. It actually saves that for you in here and allows you to do it. So they're doing some really innovative stuff in here. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to stop this share here, and I am going to share a video that I think is a little more comprehensive going through this stuff because I didn't have time that I'd like to share with you guys. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and play this.
What if I told you that there was a web browser that was beautiful to look at,
Can you all hear it?
all the Chrome extensions, has split view, keyboard shortcuts, preview.
Can you guys hear that?
Yes.
Yes.
A dedicated command bar, a mini player for videos, live capture, and even spaces where you can store information for projects you are working on. That is not even everything that you can do with this web browser Arc. And in this video, I'm going to give you the 10 reasons why I switched to using Arc as my main web browser and why I think you should switch as well. Real quick before we start, if you're new here, my name's Daniel Languish. This channel, I talk about tech, digital organization, a lot of Apple products, including Final Cut Pro, Apple Motion, a wide range of things. And so if you're new here, glad to have you. If you are returning a subscriber, it's been a while since I've posted it, but I could not be more excited to be back because today we are talking about this new web browser coming out called Arc. Now, I am pretty picky about what I want in my web browser, but boy, oh boy, does Arc check off a lot of those boxes. I really think this is my favorite web browser to date. And let's jump into those 10 reasons why, starting with number 1. Now, one of the reasons I really wanted to stick with Safari on my Mac was because it's just such a clean interface. The UI just looks really nice, and I really enjoy that. That's an important part of a web browser for me. But I have to say, Arc might be the first web browser that takes that to another level. Let's open up Arc here. And the first thing that you will notice is that all of your tabs and the search bar and all that is on the left-hand side of the screen. So that's a little bit of a change from maybe what you're accustomed to. It takes a little bit of getting used to. But here's why this is really sweet. Let's just go to their website, Arc browser website. And here we go. So you'll see, first of all, this gives you more vertical space when you are browsing the web, which is really nice. But where this gets even better is you can actually hide this tab on the left hand of the screen. I hit Command S, it'll be hidden, and you'll look. Now, when you're browsing the web, you have a beautiful full screen when browsing the web. I mean, doesn't this just look fantastic? You have the entire screen that you're working with. Whereas normally a web browser, right, has all your tabs, everything on the top. If I want that stuff, I just go to the left here and it pops open. I've got all my stuff here. But I just love the UI here. I mean, it just, even tabs just look gorgeous. I love the full screen. It really has been an incredible way of browsing the web. And I just think it's absolutely beautiful. No web browser has delivered such a nice full screen experience. And kudos to Arc for really nailing that. So that's the first reason. Now let's jump to number 2. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I loved Safari, but the thing that just absolutely killed Safari for me was the lack of Chrome extensions. Safari has some extensions, but it's nowhere near the level of extensions that Chrome has. And I use certain extensions that are essential. Well, Arc has every Chrome extension. It works with all of your Chrome extensions. You'll see here, I use some extensions like I use 1Password for my password manager. I use Matter for saving articles and stuff like that. I mean, all of the Chrome extensions that you know and love, they work here in Arc, and that is huge. Let's jump to number 3. Now, this is where Arc starts to really set itself apart, because in most web browsers, in my experience, if I want to have 2 pages open at once, kind of side by side on my desktop, I have to create 2 separate windows of that web browser. And it works fine and all that, but check out what Arc can do. So Arc has this thing called split view, where if I've got a page here and I want to have another tab right next to it, it's super easy. So let's go over here and grab another tab that I have, and I can literally just drag it to one of these sides, and you'll see it automatically goes into a split view. And this has a few advantages that I think are key. The first one is, if you would normally have 2 windows side by side, you would have to click first on the other window before you can actually click on a button to interact with it. You have to kind of make it the active window. But this is all one active window. So I can click here, and then I can come over here and I can click here. I don't have to click on the page first. So interacting between 2 pages is just absolutely seamless. And of course, you can, resize and all that stuff. But there's another really cool aspect of this, is these 2 pages now are a tab that I have in my sidebar. So I could have multiple instances of these shared pages and switch between them. And then, once I'm done with one of these pages, I could hit the X, and now this is back to full screen. Split view is something that I never thought I'd want, but man, oh man, is it sweet. Now let's jump to number 4. The awesome thing about Arc is it has every keyboard shortcut that you know and love from your other web browsers. They all work. But what's really cool about them is that they are actually all customizable. So I've the keyboard shortcuts that I'm using. I'm not using every single one, but there's a few that I use a lot. The first one is honestly switching between tabs. I hit Control Tab, and Arc's got kind of a cool tab management here. Is when you hit Control Tab, it'll pop up this little tab manager here that I can actually switch between any of my active tabs, or I can just hit Control Tab and it'll go to the next one, and I can switch back and forth just like that. So Control Tab is really awesome for switching between my tabs. Let's say I want to archive my tabs. Once I'm done using them, I can just hit Command W and that'll archive the tabs that I'm currently using. You can hit Command T for a new tab. You can hit Command S if you want to switch the sidebar on and off. They've got everything. And like I mentioned, you can remap every single one to how you like. Now let's jump to number 5. Now, previews are something that I have never seen any other web browser do, and it is sick. Check this out. So over here on the sidebar here, you'll notice I've got a few of these things at the top here. I've got Gmail, Google Calendar, even Notion, and there's only a few applications that specifically work with previews. But essentially, you can put something up here. First of all, if it's just something that you want to access quickly, you could just click up there. It's kind of like a favorited tab. But with supported apps, it can actually give you a preview of that site. So if we go over here to Google Calendar, I can just hover over it and it'll show my upcoming calendar, which is awesome. If I go to my Gmail, it'll show my newest emails that I've got in my Gmail. If I even go to Notion, it'll show me my most recent Notion pages, and then I can just click on it and it'll take me right to that page. I've never seen this done by anyone before, and it'd be really cool to see if they continue to expand this for more applications. But man, that has a lot of really useful potential, especially for people who are using Google Calendar, Gmail, and Notion. And if you found that tip useful, support the channel. It's super simple. You can click that like button below. You can subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on my latest content. It's a small thing you can do, but it really means a lot to me and helps the growth of the channel. But let's jump to number 6. Another cool thing about Arc is it's got a command bar that you can use to access anything. So I hit Command L here, and you'll notice it's got a search bar, and I could search for anything. I could do ESPN. I could search for best web browser. It's even got functions like you could do archive tab, all sorts of stuff. You can access your extensions like 1Password. It's just a really great way. I even just thought of you can switch between your tabs this way as well. If you know the name of your tab, you could just immediately switch back to it. It's a really great way to navigate your web browser. Super helpful. Now, let's say you're wanting to watch a video, but you're also maybe wanting to work on some other stuff while you're watching that video. Well, Arc is the perfect web browser for that, because any video that you watch on the browser, when you switch to another tab or even minimize Arc, it will turn the video into a mini player. So let me show you how this works. So let's say you want to watch your TED Talk here. And so we're going to click this TED Talk here, and we'll just skip to the middle of it. But then you want to go over to another tab. I can click New Tab, and let's go over to YouTube. You'll notice that now I've got this browser or this little video right here, and I can move it around. I can put it up here. I can move it back down. It stays here even if I minimize the browser. So I can just drag this all around my screen, and I can be working and watching this video. And then when you hover over it, you can click on it and it'll jump you right back to the tab. And I have used that so many times. It's just works so well. I know some other browsers have a way of doing that, but I've never seen it as seamless and elegant as it is here in Arc. And now we're jumping to number 8. Now, I'm someone who takes a lot of screenshots when I'm working on the web, whether it's for videos, for a research project, and Arc just makes this even better because if you go over here to the sidebar, you'll notice up by the search bar, you've got this little camera. And if you click on that, it's going to give you a little camera, but you'll notice it automatically hovers around what it thinks you're trying to capture. So, it goes like this. It kind of automatically captures things in a really clean and perfectly uniform format. And that in and of itself is really awesome. If you wanted to, do your own custom, you can always click and drag just like that. But let's go here and let's take a screenshot of, let's go over here and take a screenshot of, we'll say this right here. And then it gives you options. You can save your library, copy, save, you can send it, you can edit. Lots of options here. And it just makes taking screenshots while working in the web super easy, super simple. And it's even more awesome with our next tip, number 9. Now, easels is something that Arc is doing to almost make Arc a place that you can work on projects and do collaboration stuff. I mean, this is next level stuff, but let me show you how it works. So you head on down here and anywhere you can create a new easel. And so let's create a little easel here. And let's just say I'm doing research for this video, Arc web browser review. So now I've got this easel here, and this is basically just an open canvas where you can put anything that you find on the internet easily. And like I mentioned with live capture, it makes this even better because let's head over here. Let's go to Arc web browser. Let's just go to the company's website. And let's say, I'm scrolling through here and for my research, this little section right here is something that I really want. So I could just come over here, click the camera, and go right here, and I could just drag my own and do, let's say I really like this section here. And you'll notice one of the options I have is to either make a new easel or I can save it to one of my existing easels. So I can save this to Arc web browser review, and boom, it is automatically in there. I can then immediately I can move it around. I can add, text. This is an awesome screenshot. I can go down here and edit it. I can, do arrows. You can do drawings. I mean, this is just an open canvas where you can store all of your information. I could see for research purposes. Maybe if you're, you and your spouse are wanting to do some research on stuff and collect information all on one thing. And it's great for collaboration because you'll notice down in the bottom right-hand corner, you can click this share button and you can share it with another person to where both of you can simultaneously collaborate in the same easel. I can think of so many instances where this would be really helpful and awesome that they've made this available in Arc. Now, the last box that Arc checks is when it comes to privacy. And this is something that really is controversial with certain web browsers. And it's good to see Arc really be proactive on this front. So Arc on their page kind of gives 3 main things that they prioritize with your privacy when using this web browser. The first one is they don't know which websites you visit. So that they don't have, it says, we have no idea you spend 12 hours on Twitter every day. No judgment. Second one is we don't see what you type into the web browser. They can't even see what you're searching or anything like that. And then finally, and this might be the most important one, we don't sell your data to third parties. Obviously, that is the big con of certain web browsers, cough, Google Chrome, is your data is being sold by Google. And so really cool to see that they put this initiative. I don't know how robust of a privacy policy this is, but I just appreciate their upfrontness with it. And especially when other web browsers clearly don't have this kind of prioritization. And that, my friends, is why Arc is the web browser that you should use. I hope any of these 10 things.
All right, I'm going to stop that there. I thought he did a nice job of covering some of the stuff that I was talking about. I have really enjoyed, like I said, I've been using Arc now quite a bit for the last week or so. I really enjoyed a lot of the stuff they do. Like I said, I was kind of surprised there were a few features you didn't mention in there, like Boost. I thought it was really cool to make websites look how you want. You know, one of the things is in my Safari browser, I've got extensions and I have that thing locked down so tight that I don't really see the internet like most people do because I don't let anything come through that. And I was a little concerned about going to a different browser, but I found with Arc that, in fact, let me pull this up here. Here we are. You know, when I go up here and there we go. I'm looking at my extensions and I've loaded, you can see here, like I've got 12, 11 extensions, but one of them that came with it called uBlock Origin does a really nice job of blocking out ads and clutter. I really have found that I'm not seeing a lot of just the crap that you get that, you know, usually I have blocked on Safari. So I feel like they did a nice job, you know, starting that out right away. Um, you know, there, like I said, there are a lot of nice Chrome extensions that you can build in here. One of the things that I've set up, let's say I want to do a search for Mac computers. And you'll notice here when I do a search, can you guys see what's at the top of my search there? You'll notice I've got, well, you guys heard of Chat GPT, it's Search GPT. So it's a little AI going on here. And I have found that some of these AIs really do a nice job of finding stuff before you even get down to your normal searches. Now, I you know, use DuckDuckGo as mine. I don't use Google, but I like this so I can add this in and I've got, you know, AI stuff that comes up right away. And so I think that's nice. I don't think it's the best AI so far. The one, believe it or not, that I have found that I think works the best for asking questions is the Bing AI. But anyway, so that's kind of a nice feature that I've got in there. I'm able to add some of those extensions. Two of my big concerns about this browser. Well, before I get to that, these spaces that they have, you can see I made a space. I can make another space. Well, that's sort of like, you know, groups in Safari a little bit. That if I want to have, let's say I'm researching a vacation and I want to have tabs that I can put in here and keep in this other space. That can be like my vacation space. Or if you want to make one just for your work stuff and another space for your home stuff, you could do that as well. So I like being able to do that as well. Two of my concerns, I mentioned early on the bookmark thing, like there's no place for traditional bookmarks. So I just put them all into a space. So I've got them there. I imported them in. I'm not crazy about that because I don't know how I work without all my bookmarks. I don't like that they only allow you 12 favorites at the top there that you can make favorites. I mean, you can pin stuff if you drag it from the bottom, you know, like if I drag this above that line, it now has pinned that there. Also, they have an archive feature, by the way, that you can go back and it'll archive. It gives you the option from 12 hours, I think, up to like 30 days. And so you can go back and find stuff. So if you don't have it there, you can find it in your archive. But I'm a little, how do I work without the bookmarks? That's one little issue I have. The second big issue I have, I do a lot of online shopping and I use Apple Pay quite a bit through Safari. Well, you don't have Apple Pay here. Now, they do give you, if I go into Arc settings, by the way, they give you this fun little card when you sign up. I don't know that it does anything, but you know, I got to remember where this is now. Oh, here. In general, I can go into credit cards and I can add credit cards to this. Haven't done that yet. I'm not ready to make that leap quite yet. You know, because I don't really know what their security is. but I could theoretically add my cards here and then be able to use those. It also works with Google Pay. So those are the two kind of big things, the bookmark thing and the Apple Pay thing, that have sort of stopped me from making like the jump to make this my default browser. But I think it's a fun, innovative browser. I think they've got some really cool kind of innovations in here that are going beyond just being a browser. So any questions I can answer for you guys? Again, I'm not an expert on it, so I've only been using it for a little while, but anything I can answer for you guys so far from my
Well, then two very quick ones.
Yeah.
One, did you see the request down at the bottom where I think it was Terry asked for the link to that video?
Oh, okay, I will
and-
get that for you.
And the other one, is this considered a finished product, or is this in some kind of a beta status?
I would say it's somewhere in between, John. They don't call it a beta, but I would also say it's been out for a short time. So you kind of know how that goes, that I think they're still trying to work this into a more polished thing. And as I said, when I started, they're also working on multi-platforms for this. So I think you're going to see a lot of evolution, but it's not a beta in the sense of like, oh, I'm going to download the iOS beta right now or something like that.
But it's
Question.
available at this point for Mac and for iOS.
Yes.
What about iPad OS? Do we know?
I've not heard that it is, so I have not tried it, but that would be worth trying and taking a look. So I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
Question.
Yeah.
How good does the Arc browser do if you want to either A, print a web page to PDF or your printer and it looked like the actual page you saw, or B, capture a long screenshot showing the full length of the web page?
I'll tell you right off the bat, I haven't tried either one, so I can't answer that for you. I would say if you want to, download it and experiment with it a little bit, but I've never tried either of those.
Yeah, so it brings me to another question. Does anybody in the club or in tonight's meeting have any desire to be able to print a web page to like for PDF or directly to their printer to take with them somewhere?
I don't print anything.
Yeah, I say I only print when I have to.
Yeah, but sometimes when I say print, I sometimes mean that I'm printing to PDF instead of to my physical printer. So I'm printing the PDF and then I'm putting this printout, this PDF, and putting that into my Goodreader app on the iPad. And then I can look at it anytime I want to, even when I'm not connected to the internet. So actually, when I say use the language print out web page, I'm referring to either making paper on my printer or making a PDF so I can load it into my Goodreader, which is my favorite iPad app, to take with me to look at whenever I want to, even when I'm not connected to the internet. Anybody else in the group has any desire to do that?
I will save some things as PDF, but it's usually more to share things than it is for my own use, but I can't really, speak to that. By the way, I will say, Terry, there is a command here I noticed, an Arc to capture full page. And when I did that, it looks like it saved it as a .png. And I've got this big long thing. Well, here, I'll show you what I mean real quick. Give me a second. So I can at least answer this question for you. So can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, so I just this is SiriusXM, their page. And then when I went up to file, I saw there's a capture full page, and I did that. And when I did that, hold on, I gotta stop this and reshare again. This is what I got. So it went all the way down and captured the full page. And it's in a PNG is the format that it saved it in.
Yeah, that's pretty cool too. because when I say printing, sometimes I'm talking about just preparing it, put in my iPad. So that's see if it's breaking it up in 11-inch height, pictures can be broken up in the middle of it, but that long ping file won't break up the picture. So that's pretty neat,
Right.
because when I'm on the iPad, I'm not confined to an 11-inch height. I can be any height in my Goodreader, and I can just I can have it offline, look at it anytime I want to, even when I'm not connected to the internet. So that sounds like a pretty neat feature. That's something that Firefox can do too.
The other thing, the way I didn't mention is they do have, and I don't know if this works like Safari. I have not investigated this. There is an incognito mode that you can go into. So I don't know how private that really is. So that's one of the things. Like I said, I've only been playing with this for a week, trying it out. You know, there's some cool features. I think it's kind of a fun browser. I've been kind of going back and forth between this and Safari. And we'll see if I stick with Arc or I migrate back. You know, like I said, I'm not real trusting of Google, so I'm not crazy about the integration with some of the Google architecture there, but I do think they've got some really great stuff.
Well, I thank you for sharing and for entertaining my question.
Sure.
Glenn, I have a question. Who seems to be behind this? You know, the longevity of software firms is famous in our industry or in this industry.
The company, hold on, I'm going to try to pull this up. They're called the Browser Company, and I'm wondering, I don't know much about them. And I'm looking to see if there's anything, you know, you might just literally pull up the Browser Company. That's the company behind it. Do some research on them. I don't know much more than you do. So I've had a week kind of to play with this before you guys, and I saw a couple things about it, and I was like, oh, well, this looks interesting. Let's try it out. Because one of the things that I have found, I don't know about the rest of you, but over the last 5 years, 10, well, maybe not 10, but 5 years, I don't feel like there's been a whole lot of evolution in terms of like browsers and surfing the internet. And, you know, while each browser, you know, is a little different, they're all kind of the same. And so this is the first one I've seen in quite a while that, you know, is trying to innovate and do some different things. So that's why it sort of caught my attention. I'm always sort of looking for something new and interesting. All right, Ron, I think we're done with this.
Okay, then our next thing is about Apple TV. And my question to the group is, how many of you have an Apple TV? Okay. Do you find you have certain programs you like on it?
Yes.
Because I certainly do. Okay. I'm going to go to Apple's website, and because it has a listing of a lot of the programs, and we'll see which ones you say you like, and if you want to give a thumbs up or a little bit of a review, that would actually work out pretty well. So give me a second here.
While Ron's pulling that up, let me just say that if you get into like Apple TV Plus, you don't have to actually have an Apple TV device to watch that stuff. That's just a streaming subscription service, which I have, and I really like a lot of the programming, and by comparison, it's pretty cheap as well.
Yeah, I just watch Apple TV content on my on the app on my Mac.
Yeah, Mac, phone, iPad, and I think that Apple is producing some great content.
Oh yeah, especially even series, but even some movies. Yes. Are you seeing right now that picture on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. This is just from the Apple website. And there's the cost. It's if you buy a new Apple device, if you buy a new iPhone or whatever, you get 3 months free, which is how I started with it. And I stuck with it because I liked the programming that I got from it. One of the issues you have nowadays is there's so many streaming services that you could be spending more than you ever did with cable TV if you did a lot of this different streamers. So you have to consider that. It's normally $6.99 a month though after the free 7-day trial. And then if you do Apple One, you get a 1-month free trial. One of the new movies they have out is The Beanie Bubble, which I haven't watched. Anybody watch that thing? No?
I've not, but I've not heard very good reviews on it.
Well, I can't imagine I'd care, but
You know, I'll jump
the
out.
first season of Physical. It's sort of a 1980s and 90s kind of thing. Hijack is out right now. It's a series. Foundation, I like. If you like science fiction,
Oh, yeah.
you like that.
That's good.
The After Party, I enjoy. It's just a comedy kind of whodunit sort of thing. The Crowded Room I watched. I finished watching the whole thing. I enjoyed it. Swagger, I haven't seen. The morning show I started with the first season. I haven't watched the seasons afterwards. I don't know if anybody else is into that show.
You know, Ron, I started with it about the first season and a half and got away from it. I mean, it's a good drama, but it's a little on the dark side to me. But so I kind of got away from it.
Notice across the bottom are all these different shows that they have out. For All Mankind is interesting. I know some of you might like that. They do have shows for kids, by the way.
Ron, I would say that my favorite shows are For All Mankind and also oh God, my mind's blanking. Help me out. Soccer coach. England.
Oh,
What?
Ted Lasso.
Ted
Ted
Lasso.
Lasso. Yeah, love Ted
I've
Lasso.
watched all 5 seasons of that, and I enjoyed that show. Now, not everybody does, but it's just an interesting character-driven sort of program. By the way, at the bottom there, see extrapolations. It's a weird show, but it's very enlightening, I think. It tries to show you what Earth will be like if we don't do anything about the climate change in the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 70 years. And different episodes of it take it out farther and farther into the future. And it kind of scary in a way because you think, what if that does happen? But I guess it could, who knows?
Ron, you were mentioning kids shows, and so I've got a 7-year-old that we watch a lot of the Snoopy stuff. They've got the Snoopy show they brought back, Peanuts,
Yeah.
and they've done a tie-in with Snoopy in Space that they've got shows. So we've found some great kids content on here. They've also got some great documentaries that are worth watching on here. And as Ron said, they have both series and movies. They've done a few some exclusive movies just for Apple TV. And Apple has brought a lot of really big name actors and actresses to their shows as well.
Oh, for sure. I watched Platonic. It's sort of a weird comedy, but I enjoyed it.
Well, there's that one about the death family with the one speaking girl.
Yeah, what's that called? I
That
forget.
was very good. It won a lot of Academy Awards for the whole family.
Yeah, it did.
Coda.
Coda.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you. Anyway, you move on down. Notice it'll work on any of these will work on any of your Apple devices. It also, if you have a smart TV, with any of those, I don't know what you call them, apps, I suppose, it'll
You
work.
just
with
load
that.
you just load the app on those machines, right?
Right.
By the way, before you go on, Ron, the other thing that I do through there, if I want to watch the St. Louis City soccer games.
Oh yeah.
And so, I bought the season MLS pass on there, and so that's through Apple TV as well. And if you are a Apple TV Plus subscriber, you get a discount on that. I think it was like $20 off of the price, I believe. So that they've also got sports content. You know, they're the official TV provider for MLS soccer. You probably have seen before, they do Friday Night Baseball on there. There are a
But
lot
when you
of
buy,
about them doing more sports in the future.
hey Glenn, when you buy a series for that, you're buying the whole season for every team, aren't you? So you can watch any game.
Yes.
You could spend your whole weekend watching soccer.
Watching soccer, that's right. Although I didn't buy a package for that, but every once in a while they've had a free game, so I've watched a couple
Yeah, I've watched
of the ones in
parts
St.
of it.
Louis that way.
And they have good summaries of the games, even if you don't subscribe.
Right. That's it from the Apple website. Any comments about the particular programs you like the most?
But there's a lot of other series that are available that aren't Apple TV. My wife watches BritBox all the time, and you have all the old British shows. Like
Okay, but we're talking about Apple TV right now.
I know, but it's on Apple TV. Those other
No, but
things.
it's not through Apple TV.
Right.
You can put all sorts of apps on your Apple TV device that bring in other streaming services.
Right.
That's
I
right.
will say this, you know, Apple TV, they're trying to make it their hub of your TV viewing, of your TV streaming, whether you're going into their content or, like Alan was saying, to other places.
Right.
I do both. Sometimes I find their interface, the way they organize it, a little odd. But, you know, because if you go into your Apple TV, you will see things like, oh, you recently watched stuff there, and that's stuff that you've watched on all different channels. So, like, they're bringing in all my watching habits because I'm, you know, signed in, and that's running in the background. So, you know, they're trying to do more. They want to be your TV hub, and they want to provide content. I will say this. We in my family have the Apple One. Gosh, I'm trying to remember which plan it is now. They call the Premier plan. That's like their top level. And so we have the Apple TV Plus through that. And so I kind of like, because we use a lot of the different services, and it's nice to have that as a part of that bundle.
I also like you can turn on with any show through Apple TV the subtitles. And
Yeah.
I find certain shows, it's just easier to have the subtitles on to catch everything that they're talking about. Especially British stuff, because it's really hard to get the accent sometimes. Anyway, they also, what is it? There are several features there that you only get through the Apple TV. And so I think if you haven't tried it, and if you buy a new Apple device, you'll get it for free anyway for a time. Take a look at it, see what you think. I have a video I'm going to play that's about the new update that'll come with tvOS 17, which should be out sometime this fall. And it's interesting because there are quite a few changes that are coming to Apple TV that way. So give me a second here, pull this up. It's about 9-minute video.
tvOS 17 is coming to Apple TV this fall, and it's one of the biggest.
Hold on.
I want to cover 7 of the big features, and there's something for.
Shut up a minute. I got to share. Okay. Okay. Are you seeing this? I hope.
Yes.
Everyone, FaceTime for the first time on Apple TV, a completely redesigned control center, way to enhance the dialogue so you can actually hear what people are saying. You can run VPN apps on the Apple TV and a ton more. Let's jump into it. Here's an Apple TV 4K running the tvOS 17 public beta. If I go to the home screen, you'll now notice there's 6 icons across. And as you'll see.
By the way, you notice all these things that we're going to have, even if we get to Sonoma tonight, it's about the beta versions. So these are people that do the beta testing and come up with this information because they're using the beta versions of these programs. It's not available to the average public yet.
FaceTime app right here front and center. When you open the FaceTime app, if your iPhone and the Apple TV are logged into the same iCloud account, you can just set up your iPhone to use its camera for a FaceTime call and you're good to go. But you can also use any iPhone connected to the same Wi-Fi network as the Apple TV. To do that, I'm going to take this iPhone, and on the Apple TV, I can go down to Other. When you click Other, there'll be a QR code on screen. And when you scan that QR code with another iPhone, you'll see a Connect to Apple TV banner here. You can connect any iPhone or iPad that's on the same Wi-Fi network, or if you click your name under the users, you'll see a notification on your devices to accept the continuity camera request. Again, works on iPad or iPhone. Once you hold your device still enough, it'll then jump into the FaceTime application. You can also choose to skip that step if you want. And then your device will tell you what Apple TV it's connected to using continuity camera. From this menu, you can choose someone you recently FaceTime with and start a new conversation, or hit the plus button and search all the contacts on your device. You can also choose to enable center stage, and then it will follow you around the frame. You can do portrait mode to blur the background, and FaceTime will have those live reactions. So if you do a thumbs up, then you actually see a thumbs up appear on screen right next to me. This will be great for personal use. If you ever try to mirror your iPhone screen up to an Apple TV and FaceTime that way, it's never good. There's audio feedback, it's weird. But this new continuity camera feature is also open to applications like Zoom and WebEx. So if you have a conference room in your business, you know how weird it can be to try and AirPlay mirror your screen up to a TV and then you get that weird audio. This will be great for those conference room situations as well. But in case you did.
By the way, notice you have to have continuity camera, so it has to be one of the newer iPhones. But sounds like a pretty cool feature if you do.
I'm looking forward to
Anyone
that.
can actually use FaceTime, even if they have an Android or Windows device. All you have to do is tap Create Link in the FaceTime app on your iPhone or iPad, and you can send this link to any device. And whether it's a Windows PC or an Android phone, they can actually join the FaceTime call in a web browser. It's pretty cool. All right, big feature number 2, the control center on Apple TV has been completely redesigned. If you hold the TV button on the Apple TV remote, you'll see the new control center pop up in the upper right-hand corner. Quick access to things like powering off, do not disturb, and Wi-Fi, and audio devices have a much better layout. So if you want to choose one of your AirPods, they're right up here at the top of this list. Plus any of the home pods in your house you can choose as an audio output. You can connect game controllers here, accessibility, restrictions, and we'll get to that in a second. But if you're an Apple Home or HomeKit user like I am, there's actually great new home controls here in the control center. If you go over to the house icon, you can actually see your cameras, swipe back and forth to all the different cameras you have on your house. You can run scenes right here on the Apple TV, and this is a much better experience than the older version. Tap on a camera, this is my Logitech Circle View, and you can see a live stream right here on your Apple TV, or see multiple camera streams at once. And if you click that symbol, you can put any of your HomeKit cameras down in picture-in-picture. Also, if you go over to the profile icon in the upper right, you can switch to all the other profiles of different iCloud family members. You can add a user with this plus button. And another cool feature in tvOS 17 is if someone goes to Control Center on their iPhone, accesses the Apple TV remote app, and then selects this Apple TV, it will automatically switch to their profile because it's their device that's starting to control it. Big feature number 3, and I can't show you because none of these apps have launched yet, but with tvOS 17, you'll be able to install and run VPN apps directly on the Apple TV. The reason why that's a big deal, using a VPN app if you're traveling in another country, or maybe you want to access libraries from streaming services elsewhere, using that VPN app directly on the Apple TV will make it a much better experience. Speaking of VPN apps that can change your location, that's one of the many features of Aura. Aura has sponsored today's video. And if you ever Googled your name or Googled yourself, you would be shocked to see the amount of data that is just online and publicly available for anyone to see. If you're wondering why you're getting so many robocalls, probably because data brokers have sold your information all over the internet. You could try it too. Just search for your name and you will be shocked to see all the information that's out there. Those data brokers are required to legally remove your information when you send a request, but they make it super difficult. So you can let Aura handle it for you. Data brokers are making a fortune selling things like your phone number and address, and Aura can actually help protect your information. Not only that, but they do so much more to protect you and your family from online threats you can't see. Like I mentioned, they have a VPN, parental controls, even password management, all in one service. You can also view your credit score in Aura, and it will alert you of fraud in minutes. You get all those features, including things like identity theft insurance and more, for one affordable price. So you can either let people continue to exploit and profit off your personal information, or you can go to aura.com/beardedfm and start a 2-week trial for free today. The link is also in the description. That's aura.com/beardedfm to start your 2-week trial today. Thanks to Aura for sponsoring this video. And now let's jump to big feature 4 on tvOS 17, which is the new photo screensaver. Now with tvOS 17, you can go to the settings app and actually choose a new kind of screensaver, which is your photos and memories. Going down to settings, general, and then screensaver, you can choose those aerials, but you can also choose your photos and memories. You can choose just your personal photos or photos from a shared iCloud photo library you have with a friend or family member. You can choose favorite photos or all memories. If I preview this, once a memory starts, you actually get the little title in the bottom left corner, which is pretty cool. It tells you what these memories are about. And it's just a nice scroll through your photos. If I go back and just go to favorites and then preview, now it's just going to show me favorite photos in my photo library rather than memories. This is a really cool feature. Probably going to use this as my screensaver going forward. Number 5, you'll be able to find your Apple TV remote using the Control Center app on your iPhone or iPad. Once you update to iOS 17 on your iPhone and tvOS 17 on your Apple TV, you can go to the Control Center, go to the Apple TV remote, select the Apple TV from the list, and then you'll actually get that Find My Location looking screen, and you'll be able to see where your remote is in proximity to you and how far it is. It still can't make a sound, and it's not a U1 chip like AirTag Find My, but it's definitely better than nothing. Another new feature is back in that Control Center, which is the sleep timer. If I hold the TV button, I can go down and hit sleep timer. Then I can tell my Apple TV to turn off after 15, 30 minutes, an hour, or 2 hours. A feature that's been on TV for literally decades. Nice to see it on Apple TV now. And big feature number 7, there's now a new dialogue enhanced audio feature when you use a pair of HomePods with your Apple TV. If you have a pair of HomePods and an Apple TV, you can go over to the settings app, go down to video and audio, and then select audio output, and then you can choose a pair of HomePods here. Once you update all your devices this fall, you'll be able to turn on an enhanced dialogue setting that will hopefully help you hear what people are saying a little better in your TVs and movies. There's actually a great video from Vox.com explaining why it's so hard to understand what people are saying now in movies and TV shows. I'll link that down in the video description. Now, those are the big 7 features coming to tvOS 17. It's going to be a great update, but there is one critique I have to make when it comes to Apple TV, and that is parental controls and restrictions. Unlike all the other Apple devices like iPhone and iPad, even the Mac, there's great screen time settings with granular controls for child iCloud accounts. But here on the Apple TV, it is still lacking. There is now a shortcut to the restrictions. If I go back to the Control Center, I can go down to this little lock icon, and this will bring me straight to the restrictions menu. You can turn on restrictions, and there's a nice feature here where you can now unlock this with your device rather than just a passcode. And here you can bypass restrictions with a device connected to the same iCloud account. Pretty cool, but the only controls you really have to limiting app access is this setting right here. You can choose the age limit apps have to meet in order to require a passcode to open them. For instance, the YouTube app is ages 12 plus. So if you want to have to enter a passcode to open the YouTube app on your Apple TV, you actually need to set this restriction at 9 plus. But then that starts making it difficult to open other streaming apps that maybe you want your kids to be able to go into, or maybe you want to be able to go into Netflix because you can actually passcode protect certain profiles, but keep a kid's profile open. But if they can't get into the app, then they can't open anything. Also, there's still no way to track how much time is watched on the Apple TV and who watched it. With this new profile updates and using the Control Center Apple TV remote on devices, so it automatically logs people into a profile, it'll be really helpful if screen time, like the real screen time, came to Apple TV like it is on iPhone, iPad, and the Mac. Then you can also restrict individual apps or always allow apps, just like in other screen time settings. And so hopefully we'll have to wait till tvOS 18, but hopefully they bring it then. If you'd like to learn more about using restrictions on Apple TV, I have a whole video on that here. Plus, there's an entire playlist on my channel covering screen time and parental controls across all the Apple devices. I'll put a link to that playlist down below. But let me know what questions you have about tvOS 17 and anything else coming out this fall. iOS 17, iPadOS 17. I have videos on that already up on the channel and the new features coming to those software updates. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time.
Okay. I know he talks really fast, but there are a lot of interesting new things that will be coming to the tvOS 17 when it comes out this fall.
You know, Ron, I think, to me at least, it seems like there's more real cool features coming out with tvOS this fall than what we've seen in quite a while.
Oh yeah, because it changes a little bit recently, in the past few years, but this is a substantial change, I think we'll find. Okay, we're going to move on to Glenn because he's going to do his goodies.
You know, it's kind of weird doing it at this point because I'm so used to doing it at the beginning of our meetings. So let me dive right in. Let me share this with you guys. Yeah. Whoop, there we go. Okay, Glenn's goodies for August. So hopefully I've got some interesting stuff in here for you guys. I always like to start off with a little bit of news. How many of you, by the way, have set up Apple savings accounts? Okay, I know I've set one up. I know Steve did. Well, Apple just this past week They announced that they have surpassed over 10 billion in deposits from users, and they've only had the savings account open since April that you could do this. So that's big. I mean, there are bigger accounts out there with more money in them, but for only 3.5 months, that's huge. According to the press release that Apple had, 97% of savings customers choose to have the cash automatically deposited in their Apple savings, and right now they're giving a 4.15% interest rate. You know, there you'll find other savings account out there that'll top 5. But I think that for, you know, iPhone users, it's just really easy to do. And we know the exact number. We know there's more than 1 billion iPhone users out there. So they're having a lot of success with, you know, this whole Apple savings account. All right. My second bit of news is YouTube is starting to crack down on people that are just kind of use their services for free. While they're not charging to use it, if you are just using the free YouTube app, you're going to be seeing more and more ads. They're trying to prod you into paying so that you can get YouTube Premium to get rid of ads. And so the Alua Faludin, I guess how you say it, the manager of communications and YouTube ads at Google, told The Verge, ad blocker detection is not new, and other publishers regularly ask viewers to disable ad blockers. So that's the other thing, is they're going to be cracking down on people who are trying to use ad blockers. Since I block all that stuff, I will be curious to see what happens with YouTube in the upcoming months here. So if you are a big YouTube user, either get prepared for more ads than what you see already, or I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm especially going to be interested to see what happens with my blockers, if it will let me use YouTube at all in the near future. All right, so you guys have heard a lot about the whole crash detection stuff, and I thought this news story was interesting about somebody who recently used it and was saved by it. So I'll go ahead and hit play on this.
Well, rescuers saved a driver after his car plunged 400 feet down a cliff in the Mount Wilson area. And it was all thanks to an iPhone feature. KCAL's Lori Perez is along the Angeles Crest Highway tonight with more.
We are not that far up the Angeles Crest Highway, and already you can see how remote it is. Friday night's crash was even further up, but rescuers were able to find out exactly where it happened thanks to new technology on an iPhone like this. This is video of the late night rescue, hundreds of feet off the side of the Angeles Crest Highway in a spot so far down, Montrose search and rescue team members say they might have flown over it 10 times without seeing anything.
He was 400 feet down in a canyon with virtually no way out. And so who knows when or if we would have, located him. Except
This victim has an iPhone. For years, iPhones have been able to detect when you've been in a crash and call 911. And since his is an iPhone 14 like this one with the latest satellite SOS technology, it went one step further.
However, in this location, there is no cell service available. So it then reverts to satellite communication, and it sends a text message via satellite to the Apple Communications Center.
The victim's phone sent his location to Apple, which then called the closest law enforcement agency, in this case, Crescenta Valley Sheriff's Station, with his satellite coordinates.
The location that we got from the iPhone activation was spot on.
That led rescuers right to him.
It was basically his phone on its own, calling for help on his behalf.
Without it, they say it might have been days before they even knew he drove over the side. More days before they found him, if they could at all. Mike Liam was lowered some 400 feet over the side to reach the victim, who he says was bleeding from the head, his car totaled.
I believe that if we didn't have that good location information in a timely manner, he probably would have bled out. I kept telling him how lucky he was.
If you have an iPhone 14, you don't have to do anything to activate it, but you can run through a demo to see how it works. Now, Apple has led the way, but competitors are coming out with their own systems to mimic the satellite SOS. In La Cañada, Flint Ridge, I'm Lori Perez, KCAL News.
That's a really cool feature.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've heard so much about it, so I thought here is an actual news story of it, you know, and I've seen other stories of it, you know, helping people, saving lives, but, you know, it's great to see it works. So I think it's a really cool feature.
Well, rescuers.
All right. Here is an interesting one I came across. I can't imagine that I would use this, but if you are in a situation where, you know, maybe you're in a meeting or someplace where it wouldn't be appropriate for you to be looking down at your watch and doing whatever, you can actually set your watch up to use the taptic feel on it to tell you the time.
How do they do that?
So, well, you got to go in and you got to set it up. It's called Taptic Time Setup. It won't just tell you the time immediately. It's like, it's not on every hour going to sit there and do something on your watch. You actually have to press and hold your screen with 2 fingers. And when you do that, it's going to give you the time based on the taptic touch. So like, but if I'm sitting in a meeting, I'm talking to you guys, I could just be pressing here and never, you know, waver from you guys. So I'm not being rude about it. To set it up, you got to go into settings and you scroll down to clock in your watch settings. And then when you go to clock, go down, you'll see taptic time there. And you just got to turn that on. Then you have to decide which of 3 settings you want. You can have digits, terse, or Morse code. Now, this all seems a little too complicated for my liking.
Yeah.
I really don't want to have to sit there and decipher what is it saying to me. Like, for instance, digits. It'll read out the precise hours and minutes in long and short buzzes. 10s are represented by long buzzes and 1s by short taps. If it's 12:35, for example, it will be long, short, short, long, 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 short, 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 short. I don't know about you guys, but I really don't want to have to sit and decipher that. Oh, did I have that right? Is that the right time?
No
But I
kidding.
thought kind of an interesting use that you could set up on the watch to tell you the time. You could use any of these examples. So,
Wouldn't it be easier just to say, Siri, what time is it?
well, the whole idea behind this is, Ron, is if you're sitting in a meeting or maybe,
Oh,
you know, if I were teaching a class or something, I would literally just be touching my phone with 2 fingers, like while I'm talking, and I'm just feeling it, you know, tapping on my wrist. So I'm not sitting there looking at my watch or hearing something. That's the whole idea. I think it's a little complicated, but there it is if you want to give it a try.
yeah.
All right. I don't know how many of you know this exists. It's a cool little feature. So
17 p.m.
I think a lot of you know, and I know I've talked about in my goodies how to do screenshots before. If you do the key combination Command, Shift, and 4 at once, you'll get a cursor that you can then drag across your screen. So if you look at the left-hand picture there, using Command Shift 4, I just drag that across the screen. You can see that window overlaying the background of my screen, and I took that by just dragging it where I wanted. But after you hit Command Shift 4, if you touch the space bar after that, instead of the cursor, you're going to get a little camera. And you can place that camera on whatever element you want. We'll take a screenshot. So I just did this here, and I just put the camera on that actual notification window. By the way, that's the error I was talking about that I get from my messages all the time, or one of them I get. Anyway, I just put that on that window, and you can see it will just take a picture of that window. So it's a handy thing if you just want like one window or just one element that's on your screen that you want to take a picture of. So that's just Command Shift 4. And then when it comes up, hit your space bar. By the way, are you guys trying this out now?
Yeah.
I see everybody looking down all of a sudden, like everybody's trying this out. It's just a cool little thing. I don't think a lot of people know about it, but you know, there are a lot of times where I'll drag and try to do take a screenshot of a window. And I'm like, this is so much easier. Just hit it and it perfectly takes the picture for you. I've noticed if I do it on a folder on my desktop, it will like take that section of where like those folders are or icons on my desktop. So anyway, just kind of a useful feature for you there. All right, I thought I would talk a little bit about this because I know you know, one of the big things with phones, my iPhone battery is running low. What do I do? You know, and so I've got two different little things here. One, some tips just to help your battery life for everyday use. And when you get into it and you're in a low battery kind of emergency, if you will, what do you do? So first of all, just for everyday use, the first thing that I recommend doing is turn off your background app refresh. So if you haven't done this before, your apps are updating in the background. Well, if they're doing this, they're using battery life. So you can disable this. If you go into settings and you scroll down to general, and you go into general, you go to your background app refresh and just toggle that off and disable it. And then you can just manually update your apps when, you know, maybe you're plugged in at home or whatever. The second thing, you can turn off Hey Siri in your settings because I said, Hey Siri, nope, you turn off. I'm going to call her the S lady from now on because my iPad just activated on me. So if you turn off the Hey S lady, that will help with some battery life. So again, open your settings, scroll down and select Siri and search, and then turn off that listen for Hey S lady. By the way, I used to hate that when I was doing a lecture in my classes and I'd be talking and I kind of talk with my hands and all of a sudden Siri would activate on my watch and chime into my lecture. I had to turn that off on my watch.
Glenn, very quickly on the podcast Mac Break Weekly, instead of using you know whose name, they refer to her as Shlomo.
Well, another podcast I listen to refers to her as the S lady. That's where I thought of it. Yeah, because you know they do that on the podcast, and everybody's devices go crazy with, you know, S chiming in with stuff. It's kind of funny. All right, the third thing, turn down your screen's brightness. I know we like to crank up that brightness, but it really does make a difference in your battery life. Use dark mode. I don't know how many of you do, but I frankly turn on dark mode on like everything I can on all my devices. I prefer just the look of it, and it will use less brightness and power, therefore. The only time I turn it off is like I know I'm going to be outdoors and I'm in bright sunshine, then I will turn that off just so I can see my phone better. One of the reasons that I want to update my phone. Anyway, if you open settings, you scroll down to display and brightness and then just select dark, and that's how you turn on dark mode. Disable your location settings. Now, I know when you do this, that's going to impact some of your apps that you use. Maps would be a great example of that. But when you've got location settings turned on, there's stuff always running trying to figure out where your phone is, and that can have an impact on battery drain. So, you know, you can turn this off and then just know, oh, well, I want to use apps now or other things, you know, weather apps or things like that that need location services. You can always go turn it on. I know that's a little bit of a pain. I'd rather leave it on, but you know, in a pinch if you need to. You can find that in your settings in privacy and security. And when you're in privacy and security, go down to location services and turn this off. By the way, you can also micromanage this in apps. Most of my apps, I try to turn this location settings on for only while I am using the app.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There are a few of them I let all the time, but for the most part, you can micromanage this setting. don't use apps that tend to drain your battery. I am guilty of like app indulgence. I mean, I have like 250, 300 apps on my phone. I love to browse the app store and find new cool apps and play with them. But there are apps that tend to drain the battery quite a bit. And so what you might want to do is go into your phone and look and see which apps are draining your battery the most. And maybe you want to get rid of those apps or do some of those functions through your browser rather than through the app. So to see which apps use the most battery, go into settings and scroll down to your battery tab. And then when you go into the battery tab, scroll down to the list that reads battery usage by app. And it'll sometimes take a minute to bring all that stuff up. But when it does, it'll show you what's draining your battery. And, you might find some apps in there that, you don't absolutely have to have, that maybe you could jettison these apps and that will help you save some battery.
Hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
Are there any particular apps that got your attention as being battery hogs?
Believe it or not, one you can't get rid of is sometimes Safari, but it depends on what you're doing in there. Social media apps like Facebook, I know, is a big drain of battery. If you're playing games on your phone, some of those, especially if they're more motion-oriented games, those can do it as well. I know a big battery hog is if you're using map apps, like I use the Apple Maps app. I know when I'm in the car, if I'm using that someplace, I try to be plugged in because that really sucks my battery life, especially you might be driving in a car for 45 minutes or an hour. Like we were just in Florida last month and, we had apps on my phone on for directions and, you're going for an hour and a half driving somewhere. It's really draining your battery. So obviously you can't get rid of Apple Maps and Safari, but you can at least be aware of those things and know, hey, I'm going to be using Apple Maps. So I'm going to plug in, while I'm driving with it. That's what I try to do. But look into your settings and look and see what's using up the battery on your phone, and that'll be the best way to figure that stuff out.
I was just curious what you call it using up battery.
Those are the kind of things I see that pop up the most when I look at it.
Thank you.
All right. Now, sorry, I have one more here. If you have a 5G capable phone, turn off the 5G as it's using more battery. And I think we're still not really seeing 5G's full potential yet. So if you have a 5G capable phone, you may not be using the 5G network a ton. And if that's the case, you can turn it off. I mean, and frankly, depending on where you live, LTE might be as fast as what you're getting 5G. Now, if you're near 5G towers someplace, then it's going to make a big difference. But if you're not, maybe you live somewhere where you don't get great 5G connectivity, then turn that off and you're going to save power and battery life. So you'll find that in settings if you go to cellular and then click on cellular data options and select LTE instead of 5G. Now, if you are out and about, you're gone all day and your battery is really getting to a critical level, what can you do? Well, here are some things that might help you for a little while just to get through till you can charge. First thing, turn off Bluetooth and Wi-Fi because these are always searching and trying to find devices and networks. And so when they're searching, they're draining your battery. I have found, and I don't know if any of you have found this from experience, certain networks drain your battery more. Like I have noticed when I was at school in recent years, at the school I taught at, our Wi-Fi, for whatever reason, I would find would drain my battery more than when I was at home. So, if you go, here you see a screenshot. I just pulled down Control Center. Go up to the top right of your phone if you don't remember, and just put your finger on the screen and drag down. Control Center opens up, and you can see those two blue buttons, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Just click them to turn them off. So now you've eliminated one thing that is going to be draining battery. If you're not using headphones or a Wi-Fi, you don't need those. Okay, the second thing, turn on airplane mode. So what airplane mode does is it shuts down certain communications into your phone that may be dragging your battery. So you're not going to be getting communications, you know, text messages, etc., but that's going to save battery life. So again, control center, you see the little airplane thing there. Just press that and it'll stop communications in and out. By the way, if you need to make a call, you need to text, go and turn that back off, make your call or text, and then you can turn it back on. Third thing, you can use a focus mode. I don't know how many of you guys have played with focus mode yet, but the first thing is you don't necessarily have to create your own. You can just use the do not disturb mode that comes with the phone that's already set up. I know I use the do not disturb focus mode quite a bit. You know, whether it be maybe I just want to lay down and take a nap and I don't want to be woken up. I'll hit, you know, do not disturb, or maybe there's something I really got to get done here and I don't want to be, you know, disturbed by incoming calls or texts. I might turn that on for a while. My biggest problem with focus mode is then I forget to turn it off and I wonder, you know, 3 hours later, why I haven't seen any of the texts that people have been, you know, sending me or whatever. So this stops alerts from coming in. And again, it's going to say battery. Again, it's in your control center. If you want, by the way, and I'm not going to go into how to do this now, you can go into focus and create your own different focus modes as well. You can set up when they're on, when they're not, what they do, etc. You know, maybe it's when a battery is down low or whatever. So that may be something we can talk about another time, is how to use focus mode. And then finally, turn off Wi-Fi assist. I don't know if people even know this exists. Here's one that's sort of, it's a deep dive into the system. So the Wi-Fi assist setting, it's a program in your phone that actually monitors your iPhone's connection. And it's trying to help you keep a stronger connection. So when there's no Wi-Fi, your iPhone automatically uses your 4G or 5G cell connection. And Wi-Fi Connect is working in the background to monitor your connections, and it's going to do its best to maintain whatever Wi-Fi connection you have, even when it gets weak. And so while that's great for helping you maintain that, again, it's always searching and looking and trying to work, which could then be draining your battery and using more of your mobile data. So, you know, you can go in and, you know, turn this off. To do that, go into your settings, go to cellular, and then you scroll down, you can see Wi-Fi assist there, and you just toggle that off. And so again, if you're low on battery, that could be something that helps save some battery life for you. Okay, finally, the last thing is, you know, if your battery is getting really low, you can go into low power mode and do this. Go into settings and go into battery, and you'll see the setting at the top of the screen. So you see low power mode, and you can click that off. By the way, you can also, you know, put this in your control center if you want. So it's right there to toggle on and off if you need it. So what's the impact of low power mode? Well, you know, basically low power mode is going to reduce the effect that some features have to save the drain on your battery. And I'm not going to like go through all these things. You guys can kind of look at the list here, but it will turn off some features. So like you're not going to be able to use some of your 5G features. You know, it will turn down your brightness automatically. You know, it can have an impact on your screen with the refresh rates. It'll pause any kind of like iCloud interaction and automatic downloads and things that you're automatically like getting emails or app refreshes. So, you know, low power mode is probably your best way to really control that battery drain, but all of those things will help you out there. All right. Anybody here ever dropped their iPhone in the water?
Mine went through the washing machine.
Ron, I had a friend of mine who did that too. He said he heard a clunking, he looked in his washing machine in the window, and there he sees his phone going round and round and round.
I had it in the back pocket of my jeans, and just stupidly, I put the jeans in the washing machine, and I realized after about 2 minutes, oh my God, but I got it out, but it was good, wet and soapy.
Yeah. Did it work?
Yeah, after I dried it out and did all the stuff you're supposed to do, it worked fine.
You know, that's always a fear of people of, dropping their phone in the water. I've heard horror stories of people who have dropped in the toilet because they were using it while they were going to the bathroom. Of course, that presents a whole different crappy situation. So anyway, I thought I would just touch on this here. Like, what do you do if your phone drops in the water? Well, first thing is don't panic, because more than likely you all have phones that have some bit of water resistance. So to start with, I thought I would just have a little chart here to show you. So if you have an iPhone 7, 8X, XR, SE, then you've got what's called an IP67 rating. And what this means is that your phone can withstand a maximum depth of 1 meter, so about 3.5 feet, for up to 30 minutes. So you drop it in the toilet, the sink, whatever, you're good to go. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Now, phones with an IP68 rating, so we take a step up here. These are water resistance up to a depth of 2 meters. So we're talking about 7 feet for up to 30 minutes. iPhone XS, XS Max, and the iPhone 11. Ones that can go up to a depth of 4 meters. So you're talking 13, 14 feet for up to 30 minutes. That's the iPhone 11 Pro and Pro Max. And then if you've got the 12, 13, or 14, they can go up to a depth of 6 meters. So we're talking, 20, 21 feet for up to 30 minutes. Now, am I going to tell you that if you've got an iPhone 12, 13, or 14, and you're dropped, I don't know, in the ocean or the pool, and it's on the bottom for 20 minutes before you get it, that it's going to be fine? Maybe. I don't know. Water resistance is not waterproof. So that's the important thing to remember here. There's going to be some amount of protection, but it's not guaranteeing that it's going to work. So what should you do? Well, again, first thing is don't panic, because the odds are you're going to be okay if it's not too deep and it's not in there for too long. So first thing, if you get it, turn off the phone immediately. Okay. And so we're now powering it down, because as we all know, water and power sources don't exactly work well together. I've kind of got on here how to turn them off. I don't know that I need to get bogged down in that, but I've got it here so you can look at that. After you turn the phone off, then remove your case if you have one, or any cables that happen to be attached to it. Okay, because it could be that your case or cables are protecting little holes and ports in there. So if you turn it off after that, that could save the phone if water, when you move things around, then gets into places in the phone. 2, if you've got a physical SIM in the phone, so if you've got like a 13 or 14, you probably don't, but if you've got an older phone, remove the physical SIM card from the phone. So hopefully that will save the SIM card and all of your contacts, etc. in there. Then the next step you want to do is wipe off the exterior of the phone. So, get a cloth, something, as long as it won't scratch the screen, to wipe it all down and get any excess water that's sitting on there. Now, next thing, the hardest thing to do here of everything, wait. Just take a deep breath, wait, do not turn the phone on, because everybody wants to know right away, did their phone survive? Let it dry out. If your phone was submerged in water for any length of time, I've heard estimates you should let it sit for 24 to 48 hours, but I've also seen you should at least let it sit for 4 or 5 hours and let it dry out. Because what you don't want to do is turn it on while it's still wet. If it survived, if you let it dry, then you may be fine. But if you turn it on while it's still wet, that could then be the death knell of the phone. So after the time has passed, then go ahead and put the SIM card back in and turn the phone on. And at this point, I would cross your fingers, maybe say a prayer, do a little good luck dance, whatever it takes to please the iPhone gods. And hopefully, boom, it works. There are actually some apps out there that will use sound waves to eject excess water that might still be in the phone. So like, the Apple Watch has a little thing where you can, hold the crown down and it'll eject water. Well, the phone doesn't have that, but I have seen some apps out there and they'll use sound to actually try to get the excess water out. So what do you do if the phone won't power up? Well,
Is this when you put it in rice?
You can.
No, I'm kidding.
No, seriously, like, I thought I might have put this and skipped it. I thought I had something about that in here. I forgot. You can use rice to dry it out. That's been kind of a thing that's been used for a long time. I thought I put that in here, but maybe I didn't, deleted it. So rice will certainly help to dry it. Just be careful there are other drying agents, but be careful because if you use stuff that's too small, it could get in the phone. So you want to make sure you're putting it in. But rice is one of the old tried and true things. If it doesn't power up, now's the time to go seek professional help with it, or maybe it's an opportunity in disguise to get a new phone.
For sure.
All right.
Hello. Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Barney.
Hello. 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 Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yo. Hello. 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 Hello.
So that was the original Apple commercial for iPhone before it came out. So why am I showing you that? Well, I thought a fun little thing, 10 things you may not know about the very first iPhone. Anybody here have one of the original iPhones?
No.
Okay. I've got one of them in a nice little case. It's not factory sealed, so I'm not getting big money for it, but who knows, it might be worth something someday. So one of the Apple sources I like to look at, iDrop News, they recently had a feature, and I thought it was interesting to look at about like some of the features when it first came out, which it's been 16 years now. What were some of the features we kind of forget about? I got to tell you, when I go pick up that phone, one of the first things I notice is, oh my God, this thing is tiny, especially now because I've got a Pro Max. But anyway, so here are some facts that I thought you guys might find interesting. One, there was no copy and paste function. I know I use this quite a bit on my phone, but there was like no way to do that back then. Two, so Apple used something, you guys remember the Edge network by any chance?
Yeah.
That was before.
Not to.
Somebody say something, sorry.
I tried not to.
Yeah. Well, so if you don't remember, it stood for Enhanced Data Rates for GSM Evolution. And it was kind of the second generation of cellular technology. And then we moved to 3G and 4G, LTE, and 5G. The original iPhone only had a maximum theoretical throughput of 384, is it kilobits per second? I think it is.
Yeah.
So, very slow by our standards today. Three, so there was no Apple Maps, if you remember, and Apple partnered with Google Maps. But the interesting thing is there was no GPS function in the phone. So you couldn't map something out. You could look at the map, you could pinch and zoom in to see where something is, but there was no navigation feature or anything to help you get where you're going. So it was kind of like picking up a paper map in that sense. So we've come a long way with GPS capability. If you guys remember, there was no app store when the phone came out. And originally Apple's strategy was to rely only on using the web. And so you had no way, well, no legitimate way you could jailbreak a phone, we discovered, to install third-party apps at all. You couldn't rearrange your home screen or anything. You know, what you saw was what you got. But this really didn't take off and really didn't take long. By the following year, you know, we need to do something else. And so then with the iPhone software 2.0, and it was not called iOS then, that didn't come around to 2010. We got the App Store. It also helped when we moved to 3G because it moved a little faster with data that you could download apps.
And was the first phone, was it an iPhone 4? Was that the first one?
That had what?
Was that the very first iPhone? Was it the 4?
It was just, I think it was just called iPhone. And then you had the iPhone 3G. And then I think we went to iPhone 4.
Okay.
I would have to go look up the list, but I think that's what it was. One thing the iPhone did have was desktop class email and web browsing. And I'm going to read this little quote. Today, we take the Safari and mail apps on our iPhones for granted, but it's difficult to overstate how revolutionary both of these were when the first iPhone came out. Web browsing and email on mobile phones prior to the iPhone was a messy affair, with most mobile browsers rendering ugly text-heavy versions of sites with graphics either scaled down or removed altogether. The iPhone Safari browser was the first to render full-page web pages properly. Further, since the iPhone supported such natural zooming and panning, it was easy for users to get around a web page and zoom in on what they wanted to read. Apple even implemented double tap gestures to automatically zoom in on columns of text. Similarly, Apple's Mail app was the first to offer the kind of IMAP support that desktop users had become accustomed to, which meant full synchronization of email with the server and desktop client, plus the ability to render rich text and HTML emails in much the same way as web pages in Safari. I really think it's easy for us to forget how revolutionary this feature was, and really just the iPhone in general, because, you know, 16 years later, we're used to this. This stuff is normal, but it didn't exist before that. I mean, I had a smartphone before an iPhone. It was a Trio. You know, there were Blackberries and stuff, but you couldn't do this kind of stuff. And I don't know if you got how well you guys really remember that now.
I would like to comment that many websites have actually enforced mobile versions down our throats nowadays, and they took away the desktop class web browsing for certain sites that do that, depending on what the web designers do.
Yeah, I know for some of them, Terry, you can, there are ways to force it to the desktop version, or they allow you to switch over, which I have done sometimes when the mobile.
Sometimes they just don't seem to switch over though, when you try to switch.
I've had success with some of them. I don't try it that often anymore, but you know, I think the iOS versions have gotten much better than what they were, you know, maybe 3, 4, or 5 years ago. All right, number 6, and I don't know if you guys remember how controversial the touchscreen keyboard was at the time. Like, people were like saying, there's no way this is going to work. Nobody wants a touchscreen keyboard. And do you guys remember that controversy over it when it came out?
Yeah, Blackberries. Remember? Who has a Blackberry anymore?
Oh yeah, I mean it was like crazy, the controversy on it. But you know, it's worked out pretty well. Anybody remember that that Apple made its own YouTube app?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, there was, since like, since you didn't have, well, that was one of the great things about not having a hardware, buttons on there. You had this big display. And so Apple took advantage of it and they made their own, app because YouTube wasn't optimized for that browser. And so they had their own app for a while on there. It did not come with video recording or a front camera. You only had the one camera on the back, and all you could take were still pictures with it. It was a 2-megapixel camera, and it took good pictures for that period. But it just didn't have the capability of recording like even lower resolution video. So that didn't come around yet. There was no picture messaging. So if you wanted to send a text message, you could do that. And they had the bubble text format. But you could not send any kind of pictures at that time. And so that didn't come around for a little while. Some people thought this was a really odd omission because the technology existed. But, because Apple was all about being able to really see things and the video and the pictures of it, kind of odd that they didn't include picture messaging with that first phone. Okay, so anybody remember the good old 3.5 millimeter headphone jack?
Yeah.
And you probably all remember how controversial it was when Apple got rid of it.
I got rid of it. Yep.
Yeah. So they made it so it could theoretically be used by any headphone. But it did have a microphone in there for hands-free calls. And so, it was such a weird thing. And so because it was recessed into the phone, some headphones had a hard time plugging in. And they're basically, you start to see third-party jacks being made to put in to then plug your headphones in. So it was kind of a bit of a controversial way they put it in. And then it was controversial when they got rid of it. It's funny for me, at least, to look back on some of these things now, because you just forget about it. You just, you're used to stuff now and you don't remember how it used to be. All right. Real quickly, I want to talk about a very interesting piece of software I came across called Montaigne.
One more thing about the original iPhone. The very first iPhone was 4 gigabytes of RAM. And those are the ones that, when sealed in the box, sell for over $100,000 now.
Oh yeah, I've
very soon after that they came out 8 gigabyte RAM, and many people think they have the original iPhone if they have 8 gigabyte RAM.
Yes.
Yeah, I've featured a few of those in my goodies over the months. Like,
and it's because he appears to be normal to outside people. I think
storage space.
Somebody needs to mute themselves. We're hearing two conversations going on.
Yeah, I was getting cut off. I was misspoke. It's not RAM I'm talking about. It's the storage space. The phone's flash storage space was 4 gigabytes, and then 8 gigabytes.
Which is funny when you compare that to what you have now, but it's always been like that with computers. All right, so this Montaigne software, it actually allows you to make websites, blogs, or portfolios using only your Apple Notes. I think this is really cool. I came across this. I don't remember how I found this, but I've used this and I'm going, yeah, I might use this in the future. So I've got the web address there, montaigne.io. And once you're there, you just click a little sign up button and you'll be asked to use your Apple ID. Now, some of you might be going, I don't really want to use that ID, but they're going to basically tap into the ability to get your notes and bring it up. That's why they need that. So when you come back to the site later, you're going to sign in using your Apple ID. So to create a new website, you just, create your Apple Note that you want, whatever's in there. And they've got a great little link that I provide here. And you just have to follow the steps. Like the first time I did it, I followed the steps. It was a little weird. I had to really pay attention to what I was doing. but I did it. And the first time I didn't do it, it didn't work. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I'm like, why isn't this making my website? Well, as it turned out, it wasn't my fault. I actually got an email from, I don't know if it was the owner or one of their developers or what, saying, hey, sorry about your website yesterday. So we had a problem, we had to tweak it, and then it was up there. So it worked great. They just had a problem on their end. But if you follow the directions, you'll figure it out. They say it'll take up to 5 minutes. You know, I would just say give it some time.
Hey,
So
Glenn, who's hosting this website?
I don't know where they actually host it through, but maybe it's their own server. I'm guessing. I don't know. You might be able to find that on their website. I don't know if that information's there. Here's an example of a site I made. So I took a note that I already had. You can see it's track warm-up drills. These are just the warm-up routines that I do with my track athletes at the beginning of our practice. And so I've got this on my iPhone so I can easily pull it up and go through it with them. So I took this note and I made a website. You can see on the right here, that is the website that it created from my note. And by the way, my links worked on the website. And I could go, the links basically took me to video examples for my athletes to look at. And this is also on my track website that I have. So
Oh, that's real cool for you.
I mean, this is cool from notes. It creates an easy website. So I think this is one of the coolest pieces of software I've come around recently, web-based. Also, I'll show you, this is an example of a portfolio. And this was on Montaigne's website, so I'm not like stalking this woman or anything. But they use this as an example. This woman, Anastasia, she's got a portfolio. She says she's a model. And so all those links under where it says Asia, those are all links to different parts of her portfolio. I just clicked one, outdoor, and then you can see it's got all these pictures of her. So this is a way for her to showcase this stuff. She created this portfolio in Apple Notes. And I don't know about you guys, but it looks pretty nice to me. You know, and so that's a way for her to, I guess, get modeling jobs and things like that. And she's done this right from Apple Notes through this. So like I said, every now and then I come across something it's not some huge software package, but it just kind of blows me away. And I think this is cool because I use Apple Notes a ton. So if you have a use for it, check out Montaigne. Another little piece of software I came across that I've been having a lot of fun with is called Ultimate Vocal Remover. So it's software that will actually remove the vocals out of a song. Now, you guys see all my guitars back here. You know, I've done some music stuff with you. It's a cool thing for me because I can take the vocals out of a song I might be trying to learn so I can hear the instrument better without the vocals in the way. And so it's just kind of cool also, just even if you're not doing what I'm doing, it's kind of fun to listen to without vocals and kind of hear what's really going on behind that. The great thing about this software is it's free. So you can go here. I've got the link. You can, download this. And when you do this, some of the things in here, I don't even play with. But all you got to do is first you select your input and you just click on the box to the right of input. And that's where you select the song. So you might want to go into your music folder, where you keep all of your Apple Music, iTunes. It still says iTunes Music folder on my computer. And I click the song I want. Then I click where it says select output. And then I'm just simply telling them where to save the file. Then there you see little radio buttons. I choose, do I want to save it as a WAV, a FLAC, or an MP3 file? And then where it says choose model, I just have one model. You just choose the MDX net model that came with the software. And then you just click start processing. And I have found that it takes, a minute or two maybe to process this. Now, what it's given me and you can select, like, if you just want it to give you just the one without the vocal, but I've had fun kind of give me one without the vocal. So I just have the instruments, and then I have it give me one with just the vocal. And so it's kind of fun to listen to both. And so I've got some examples here. So, and you can, play with this, but I don't know if you guys know the song Wagon Wheel by Darius Rucker, pretty popular song. So here's just the song. I'll play the full thing so you can just hear it for a minute. Whoop, got to go back. Sorry. Come on. You guys hear that?
Yes.
It was real brief, though.
No, I don't hear it.
I don't hear it now.
We can't hear you at all, Glenn.
You guys hear that?
No,
You couldn't hear it at all?
no.
Okay. In that case, my demonstration of this may not work. What I did here is I put the full song, then I put the instruments only one, and then I did the vocals only one for you guys. I don't know why this isn't picking up on here.
It's Zoom.
Let's
Zoom's not very good about this.
Yeah, let me try a different one to see if you can just here. I'll do the vocals one. What I noticed when you do the vocals one, you hear a little bit of the instrument in the background. Whereas when you do the instruments only, you hear no vocal. Hold on. He's not singing yet. Gotta go through the intro. Hold on.
Carolina, staring up the road.
Okay.
Pray to God I see it live.
Sorry. Yeah, the Zoom thing. So it's try the software out. Like, even if you're not into like music like I am, playing music and stuff, I just think it's neat to really listen to stuff and be able to take it apart. It's a cool piece of software and it's free. I apologize I couldn't get this to work here for you guys. I don't really know why it won't play music, but it will play videos. So I'm not sure what the difference is. I just wonder when we get done with this, maybe I'll try sharing it from my desktop and see if that works. And then we've been talking about removable iPhone batteries in the future. And so I thought this tweet was pretty funny, actually. Harkening back to the old days of
Double A's.
in the back of the iPhone. So I think that'd be pretty funny if that's where we ended up. Not
No
that we were.
kidding.
I have a video that I want to share with you guys, and this is my last thing on here. So Apple put together this kind of funny video to show their security features at work. So here you go. I'll play this for you. You guys hear this?
Yeah.
Morning. It's the big day. Where are you? Where are we? Where's the presentation? It is. I just got here a little early, but the finishing touch. You were meant to send it on Friday.
Did you share the presentation yet?
I am about to share it. Yeah. Check this out. It's ginormous.
It's like 100 people right now in the corner.
Guys, this is a game changer, okay? We're gonna crush this meeting. So don't be late, and Dave, don't wear cargo shorts. Guys, I gotta go. My Mac. The presentation. Morning. I think someone accidentally took my back, which I really need for an important meeting. So we're gonna follow them and get it back. So follow them. Go, go, go.
All right.
Oh, it's your lucky day.
Is it yours?
Yeah, of course.
Then unlock it.
Give me a pass.
All right, bro. Try saxophone 67. No, big golf ball. Ducky, 19.
If I wanted my time wasted, I call my ex-husband. Now beat it.
Oh.
Pawn shop. Oh, they're trying to sell my Mac.
Right.
You wait here, and then we'll go back to my meeting together.
Sure. No problem.
You fix my Mac because I really need to buy it back. I'll pay anything. Anything.
I wasn't born this morning. That thing was hotter than Houston. Oh, honey, don't get attached. Just let it all float away.
Straight to voicemail.
Where is she? Wait, I can see what she is.
She gave you permission?
Yeah.
Yep.
Both of you?
Yeah.
She's like on the other side of town.
What is she doing?
Where is she going? What do we do? I don't know. Usually Bridget tells us what to do.
No, Bridget, no meeting.
No investment.
No Barbados.
How long have we got until the meeting?
30 minutes.
Hey Siri, where am I parked?
Hey, you'd like to sell this?
I'd sure like to buy it.
Yeah, but we forgot the password.
I'm afraid no password, no burrito, boys. This thing's got more security than Area 51. Biometric authentication, secure enclave, all sorts of encryption, not to mention the tracking, online and offline.
Okay, well, bye.
Come back anytime.
Oh. I'm okay. I'm sorry.
Well, if it's peripherals you're after, my friend, you're in the right place.
Hi. Sorry. Hi.
This seems like your patience tank is running on empty.
I know, but it's an emergency. Someone took my Mac, and I really, really need to get it back.
Okay, calm your farm. You just held the door wide open for one of the fellows who took it.
I what? Guys, she turned on Do Not Disturb.
What? Bridget loves being disturbed. It must be bad.
Sucks.
Well, I thought you liked strawberry.
Just shut up. I'm thinking.
We could just give it back. Then technically it's like we just borrowed it.
Shush.
I don't want to shush. You've been badgering me all day about stuff that's not even my fault.
Badger.
What?
Badger buys anything. No questions asked. Take that shake to go. It's cha-ching time.
I got put on my helmet.
It's chicken and shakes. What? Gary, FaceTime audio team better bag. Guys, I screwed up. It's a. What is it now? Oh gosh, it's at the counterfeit market.
Bro, did it get on me?
No, you good, bro.
It's locked, right? What do you mean locked? It's not locked.
You should call Sam. All right, listen, ground rules, Badger, okay? Don't speak unless spoken to. Actually, just don't speak at all, all right? Be cool. Badger.
Pretty cute for a badger.
Bridget, hi.
So, did you lock my Mac?
I can lock it or you can do it.
Hold on. I'm pretty sure it was orange. Mom was gonna kill me.
It's done.
Ain't this.
Bridget, did you lose your Mac? It's lost and I have to wipe it.
We just need a few more minutes.
You have 3 minutes.
3 minutes is all I need. It's alive since the 90s.
Yo, we stole it, okay? We can't unlock it. It's impossible. Please just take it.
That's the next line. Turn left.
What did you say? What did you say?
Turn left.
You just tried to sell it and make some money. Is that wrong?
No, Max.
Two minutes.
Right there, yes.
What? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, why is that peeping? Do something about it.
30 seconds.
Shut up. You're the one who has to shut up.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Please don't touch me. Okay. The meeting. Let's go.
That's not exactly what was recommended.
Told you 1,000 times, your Mac's fine, just stop clicking in those emails.
What if she really needs the money?
Real princesses don't send emails asking for money. I'm gonna take this.
Anyway, I saw that and I thought it was kind of clever, so I thought I'd share that with you guys. I hope you appreciated that.
Is that an Apple video, Glenn?
It is, yeah. Apple produced that long form video there. So, anyway, so there you have goodies. I apologize for the vocal remover thing. You know what I'll try to do next meeting? I will try to share that because I don't want to, I know we're already over time here. Next meeting, and I can share that with you guys to see the results of what I was trying to share in my presentation.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn.
Yeah, thank you, Glenn. I thought that was very funny. Not exactly what everyone should do, but very funny.
You know, I thought it was a clever way for Apple to showcase, you know, all that stuff and everything. And I saw it and I was like, I thought that was kind of clever. So I thought I'd share it with you guys.
Yeah. All right. Good night, guys.
Okay, everybody. See you next week.
All right.
I'll talk to you guys.
Next week, next month. I'm sorry.
Bye.
Off a month.
Bye.
Bye-bye.